What's up, everybody? I'm sure that you all have heard about this by now, but just in case you haven't, the most wretched, despicable, god-awful excuse of a sequel to a classic 80s film, Willow, has been canceled on Disney Plus after just its first season. If you never got the chance to see Willow, let me tell you, you saved yourself hours of just cringe-inducing, horrifyingly bad scripting, and the dialogue was terrible. The actors were unbearable. The entire plot of this show was just abysmal, and it had nothing to do with the movie. It had nothing to do with the original George Lucasfilm from the 1980s that I grew up on. Literally, the only thing that it had in common was Warwick Davis playing Willow, but it wasn't even the same guy. I mean, to be honest, they kind of took the approach that you see nowadays, where the modern reimagining basically just shits all over the legacy characters, and it just doesn't do anybody justice. They couldn't get Val Kilmer for health reasons, and honestly, I feel happier for him that he didn't actually take part in this show. So Lucasfilm is having some trouble. Lucasfilm that is owned by Disney, run by Kathleen Kennedy, and basically covers everything from Willow to Star Wars to Indiana Jones, which is a whole nother topic, has seen their first unsuccessful show canceled and bad ratings for The Mandalorian Season 3. Now, Mandalorian's a show that my kids were really into, and so, I never loved it, but my kids really liked it, so we were watching it the first two seasons, and of course, it's taken about 2 years to get the third season out. But in between Season 2 and 3, they had the Book of Boba Fett as like a filler to kind of like hold people over. Well, Book of Boba Fett was one of the most disappointing, horrible excuses for a Star Wars show that you could get. I mean, personally, I sat out and didn't watch the Obi-Wan show because I knew it was going to be bad. And sure enough, when you actually listen to the reviews of what they did to his character, absolutely am justified by the fact that I didn't waste my time watching it. But Book of Boba Fett, I didn't have super high hopes for, but I couldn't believe how bad it truly was. It was a disgrace for his character. It was a horrible idea. The plot was terrible. The supporting cast was just absolutely cringe-inducing. It was terrible stuff. I mean, they had the cyborg teenage kids on the Vespas, and everything about Book of Boba Fett I wish that I could unsee. But they used it as a filler for, basically, it was Mandalorian Season 2.5, where they took the ending of Season 2, where Grogu goes to Luke to get trained to be a Jedi, and the marketing team over at Lucasfilm was like, well, shit, how are we going to market Season 3 now? We have no Grogu. So what do? They go, well, we got the Book of Boba Fett, which is getting completely destroyed in the ratings. Nobody's watching it. Nobody's liking it. So they bring in The Mandalorian, Din Djarin. They bring in, it's basically, Book of Boba Fett is basically, got 2 episodes of The Mandalorian Season 3 that were jammed in there. Then, of course, they reunite Grogu with The Mandalorian, so that once you get to Season 3 of The Mandalorian, it's as if the Book of Boba Fett never happened. It's as if the season finale of Season 2 of The Mandalorian never happened. It begs you to wonder, what the hell's the point of what I've watched for the last 3 years, right? So here we are in Season 3. The first 2 episodes were okay. I mean, my wife and I were talking about it, and I was thinking about it more and more. I'm like, well, at first I was like, well, that was all right. Not terrible. But the more I thought about the show, it doesn't have a logical point to exist anymore. I mean, yeah, he's got the little Grogu, he's got the little alien with him, but he had taken off his helmet, he was no longer a Mandalorian, he was taking all these different paths in his life. All of a sudden now he's back joining the cult where he has to go get clean on his home planet, go get in the water. His little dude that has the Force is no longer trying to be a Jedi. So it's like, what's he going to do? He's going to take little Grogu and just go back to being a cult member and never see each other's faces ever again? Like, what? The entire plot line of Season 3 hasn't made a whole lot of sense so far. And then they wasted Season 3, Episode 3, on a character that I'm sure they're going to try to tie in the significance of this before the season finale, but it was possibly the most boring, horrifyingly bad excuse for Star Wars that I've ever watched. So the third episode focused on the scientist from Season 1 that was originally supposed to be doing the research on Grogu, trying to, I assume, extract his Force abilities and clone people infused with the Force, right? Well, they tried to make this character somebody you would actually care about, and nobody cared. The entire plot of episode 3 was absolutely mind-numbingly bad, and the viewership numbers are showing it. So apparently, the premiere of season 3 of The Mandalorian had less viewers than Obi-Wan or Book of Boba Fett, and neither one of these shows was well received. Obi-Wan definitely, I think, had some of the lower viewership numbers because of the fact that the show got such bad PR as soon as it started airing. So for The Mandalorian, Disney's cash cow, Lucasfilm's golden child here, to be getting less viewers than Boba Fett or Obi-Wan, this is bad for Disney. We've seen the lack of interest in Star Wars. I mean, anything Disney produces, Marvel especially, with Ant-Man flopping or in the theaters. But we've definitely seen a lack of Star Wars appetite among viewers, especially when you look at, for example, there was an event, SXSW, where Disney's toy department unveiled this, I think it's like $200 real lightsaber. I mean, obviously it's not a real lightsaber, but it's this extendable light up, has the whole whoosh sound when you turn it on, everything great, wonderful. But it was apparently one of these situations where literally nobody could care less. I mean, if you remember Reva, the villain from the Obi-Wan TV show, they tried to do basically like a Kickstarter type thing. I think it was through Hasbro, obviously, to get enough people to sign up for her lightsaber to actually put the thing into production, and it failed miserably. Nobody wanted the damn thing. And this is bad for Star Wars, it's bad for Disney, for Lucasfilm, all of them, because Star Wars, despite most of us that grew up on it still loving the original trilogy, it was really just a vehicle to sell toys. I mean, kind of like He-Man. Yes, you can still love and respect the original story, but it really is a vehicle to sell merchandise. And if you're out here still trying to push merchandise when your TV shows aren't getting any attention and nobody cares anymore, how are you going to generate revenue? How are you going to reach new fans? It's like Star Wars is in really bad shape right now. And I've known this for a while. I didn't watch 2 out of 3 of the new Disney sequel movies because I just didn't care. After Force Awakens, I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I just don't need this. It's not the same. So I honestly, there's rumor that Kathleen Kennedy's finally out. I'm not holding my breath. I'm sick and tired of the rumors. We'll see when it actually happens. But at this point, I don't even have faith that Jon Favreau or Dave Filoni could even fix Star Wars because, look, to be honest, they've been part of the problem. They've been involved in The Mandalorian. They've been involved, even if it was only in name, in the Book of Boba Fett. And despite having pretty much entire creative control over The Mandalorian, this season has been god-awful to have to watch, and the viewer numbers reflect that. So I don't know that there's any coming back from this one, but maybe you guys can share your thoughts below. Let me know what you think. Is Star Wars dead? Is there any fixing this? Are you even watching any of these shows anymore? But yeah, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you on the next one.